The fear didn't come in a vacuum. The fear came as a result of her unmet needs. It doesn't mean you were deliberately neglectful. It doesn't mean you were selfish, but it could be that's the way she saw you. You don't want to confront her. You don't want to ask for details. Even if you officially made up and the marriage is on the way to being fixed, so to speak, when you want to fix a marriage, one of the most important things you want to make sure is that as you're trying to fix past problems, past misconnections, past misunderstandings, you don't want to create new problems and new misunderstandings and new miscommunication. That's fundamental. And it's one of the principles that I abide by when I'm coaching my personal clients. You always want to build from the bottom up. You don't want to create new mistakes as you're trying to fix old mistakes. So what do I mean by an affair blackout? I call it an affair blackout because in every type of situation where there is a potential or a definite affair, there is a blackout of information. In other words, there isn't accurate information flowing between husband and wife. There isn't a level of openness and transparency and trust between the couple. The husband, on some level, doesn't trust the wife because he feels she's hiding something from him, or he knows for a fact. And the wife doesn't trust the husband to be able to open up to him and share with him what she's doing, what's going on behind the scenes in most situations. And this actually has a huge effect on the strategy you need to use to turn around your marriage. You kind of have to use it as a guiding principle how to avoid making additional mistakes. And I'll explain what I mean. So let's go step by step. The definition of an affair is very important to understand. I talk to guys going through marriage problems, marriage crisis all the time. And very often there's a blur of what an affair is. It's like a subconscious psychological trick your brain is trying to play on yourself, which you look at it as, it's not really an affair. She's just texting a coworker. She's just hanging out with friends past a certain time, and she's just hiding things on her phone, but it's not really an affair. And if you want to convince yourself that, that's okay. But the purpose is to bring things out to the open, to have open conversations, and to get to the point of honesty and healing of yourself and your marriage, and to understand if there's anything that you would be hiding from her that you don't want her to know, that is a form of infidelity. That is a form of an affair. It can be the most extreme in the sense that it's a physical affair, or it could be emotional. And for women, the emotional is actually more addictive, more powerful, more compelling and overwhelming than for men. Because when a man has an affair, it's usually a physical experience, physical attraction. There isn't the depth of the emotional connection, typically. For a woman, her sexual drive, her physical interest in intimacy almost always has to come along together with an emotional connection. So the emotional connection is actually very deep and very powerful. And for a woman, it's the emotions, it's the way she feels towards another man, which is what will define the affair. It doesn't really matter if there was a physical intimacy or not, and especially in the online world, there can be a very strong, compelling emotional addiction in that affair. And it's important to face it. You can't fix a problem if you don't recognize it, or if you try to reduce it or minimize it. If there's anything that you're hiding from her, or anything that she's hiding from you, that is definitely eating away in the background of your marriage. So let's talk about 3 levels of affairs and the typical mistakes guys make in a situation where you suspect that your wife is emotionally interested in another man. She's pursuing another guy, or another woman for that case, but she's pursuing them intimately and emotionally, and there's a real connection there. There's one situation where you suspect it, another situation where you know for a fact it's happening, and the third situation is not only you know for a fact it's happening, but your wife is not even trying to hide it. It could be the way she's protective of her phone. It could be a way that she's evasive in the answers that she's giving you, or she doesn't show up when she said she's going to show up, or there's like various excuses for why she didn't come home or why she's not going to come home. It's a feeling that a guy gets that his wife might be interfering. And what I want to point out to you over here is that the first thing you got to do is respect yourself and trust yourself. Trust your instinct, trust your intuition, pay attention to your gut feeling. Don't ignore it. A lot of guys ignore it. A lot of guys say, oh no, she would never cheat on me. Or sometimes guys would say, she has no interest in intimacy. She's going through menopause, she had a hormonal thing, yada yada. There's no way she'd be interested in another guy. Let me just tell you a little reality check. 85% or 90% of the time, when a guy has a gut feeling that his wife is pursuing another guy, however you want to call it, emotional, texting, physical, sexual, intimate, I don't care how you try to frame it, but if she's interested and pursuing and she's emotionally connected to another guy, most of the time the guy suspected it, it ended up being true. Whether that truth surfaced 3 weeks later or 6 months later. But what I want you to know is to pay attention to your gut. Don't ignore yourself and don't disrespect yourself. There's a 90% chance that your gut intuition is right. And I'm not saying you should snoop. In fact, you shouldn't. I'm not saying you should confront her. You should not. But at the very least, in the beginning, respect yourself and acknowledge the truth. If you have that feeling and something's bothering you about the way she's behaving over a period of time, probably something going on. It doesn't mean it's a sexual thing. I didn't say that. But when it comes to affairs, like I said, women are primarily captivated by and then become addicted to the emotional component. Someone showing interest in her. And it could be a female sometimes. But it's somebody who they'll open up to and look forward to spending the time with and share intimate, private details about their life. It's very rare that a woman's sex drive goes down because of physical issues. 95%, if not more of the time, when a woman is not interested in being intimate, it is almost always influenced by an emotional factor going on within the marriage, or by an emotional factor that's not existing in the marriage. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had this hundreds and hundreds of times where guys are telling me there's no intimacy in their life, the wife is not interested, because she's not interested, menopause, hormones, God knows, surgery, all sorts of reasons. And then we find out 3 to 6 months later she's in an affair with another guy. How's that happening? What was going on? And the reason for that is when there is a marriage cancer between a husband and wife, that there's a major disconnect, a lack of trust, a lack of truly understanding and seeing each other. So a woman's sex drive doesn't disappear. It may disappear from the marriage, but it doesn't necessarily go away. For example, just point in case, guys have asked me many times, what is my opinion about the 5 love languages? If you have marriage cancer, the 5 love languages don't work. For argument's sake, let's say it's true that your wife's love language is physical touch, or her love language is quality time. If you have marriage cancer, she still will want physical touch, but just not from you. She will still want quality time, but just not from you. So if you don't factor in where she wants that need from, the whole love language is completely irrelevant. It doesn't make sense to look at that, because even if it's true that you've identified what it is that she wants, and even if the love language is true for her, but she doesn't want that with you. So what should you do about it? So number one, you have to stop snooping. Stop trying to find out the dirty details of what is going on. Stop trying to uncover the lies. Certainly you don't want to confront her. I'll tell you why. This is not just to be a nice guy at all. It has nothing to do with being a nice guy. This has nothing to do with morals, really. It has to do with strategy. It has to do with if you're going to lead your wife, if you're going to lead your family, if you're going to take back your marriage, you got to do it in an intelligent way. And the first thing is to not do it in a stupid way. That's the beginning. And the silly way is to snoop, because snooping is just going to make you crazy. It's not going to help you to find out the details of what you texted, of tracking her, of recording her. Unless your goal is to just win her in court somehow. And that's not my goal over here. My goal over here is to actually help you step up for your marriage and turn around your marriage and uncover what went wrong and make it right and fix it and have a better marriage than you had before. That's my goal. That's my agenda. So if that's your goal, you can stick around. If your goal is to just win her and show her that you're morally superior to her and somehow use it as leverage for negotiating power, for custody or financial assets or whatever, that's not my goal over here. But if your goal is to recapture her heart, then don't snoop. It's going to make you crazy, and plus it's going to keep you stuck in the symptoms. Like, if you truly believe that the fear is the main issue, I'm not saying it's not a problem. It is a problem and it has to be addressed. But I'm saying that's not the cause of your problems. Typically, when a woman has an affair, it's going to be because for a while she felt disconnected from you. She felt detached. She felt like you weren't there for her. This is not a judgment of you. It's just the way she sees it. She believes she already invested her heart in the marriage for a while. Are you guys getting this? Do you relate to what I'm saying? She believes that she already tried. So therefore, if you just snoop, you're just focusing on the symptom. You're not getting to the root of where that disconnect started from. Okay? The affair is the result of the problem. It's not the problem itself. I've never seen it to be true. I've never seen a fantastic marriage, and they had great intimacy and trust and connection and respect, and the woman went and started an affair. And again, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's morally correct. It's obviously not. It causes a lot of pain, both to you and to your family and to her herself as well. There's a lot of guilt that a woman experiences as a result of her fear. Let's talk about the positive. If she's hiding it from you, there's a certain positive benefit in that. The fact that she's hiding it from you means she's uncomfortable. If she's uncomfortable, means there's a bigger chance you can heal your marriage. If she's flaunting that fear, that means she's very comfortable with it. There's actually a smaller chance you can heal your marriage. I'm not saying it's not doable. I've seen it done. If she's hiding the fear, it's definitely easier. If you confront her about it and then you bring it out into the open, it actually makes her feel much more uncomfortable. And here's the crazy thing that happens, and it may have happened to you. She will turn around and blame you. So you'll confront her about the fear, and she'll say, okay, fine, it's true, but you should know you're the reason why I did A, B, and C, because you didn't do yada, yada, yada. You were neglectful, you were selfish. The point is, if you confront her about her fear, it's going to end up making her justify her behavior and blaming you for it. And it's going to give her an excuse to pull away from you, to interact less with you, to have less conversations. So it actually furthers your goal of creating more intimacy and more emotional connection and trust in your marriage, because now she's blaming you for her fear as well, not just in her own mind, which I could guarantee you she did before you said anything, but now she's going to blame it officially to you to try to protect herself from feeling guilty, which is a typical human coping mechanism. But it doesn't matter what it is, it will work against you. The bottom line is, if you focus on what she's doing, it's going to backfire on you and make it impossible for you to actually interact with her in a way that you can heal the marriage from the bottom up, where you can build the trust and the emotional connection. In simple English, it will make it impossible for you to interact with her in a way that makes her want to stop the affair. That's why it's so important for you not to confront her about it, not to snoop. In the early stages, you have to really focus on damage control, on not making your situation worse, not making it worse by snooping, and not making it worse by ignoring your own gut intuition, and not making it worse by confronting her. There are some guys that listen to this video like, I just want a quick fix. She should stop her affair and ask me for forgiveness so we should live happily ever after, which is not going to happen. Because if you don't get to the root of why she was interested in that affair, if you're not willing to do that heavy lifting, you may get her back. She may drop the affair out of fear of you, or anxiety, or some other dependence she may have on you, financial dependence or whatnot. But you're not going to capture her heart. Okay? You can still have your marriage without having her heart. That's certainly not my goal. It might be your goal, it's not my goal. My goal is to help guys recapture the wife's heart, love, trust, and respect and passion. And that your marriage should be a dream marriage. Every day should be Valentine's Day. It should be better than what you thought it was going to be. That's not going to happen if you're not willing to go deep. So some guys will look at this video and say, hey, no, man, I'm out of here. I don't want to look at things that I may have caused to contribute to the fear. I don't want to take that level of responsibility. And that's your right. But some men understand that in order to really recapture your intimacy and recapture her heart and trust, and for you to trust her as well, to the point that, your marriage is better than it was before, it's going to take some deep work. It's going to take some heavy lifting, because the fear didn't come in a vacuum. The fear came as a result of her unmet needs. It doesn't mean you were wrong. It doesn't mean you were deliberately neglectful. It doesn't mean you were selfish. But it could be that's the way she saw you. And it's important to understand how that happened. And very similar suggestions for guys, even if there's a confirmed affair or she's flaunting that affair. You don't want to confront her. You don't want to ask for details. Even if you officially made up and the marriage is on the way to being fixed, so to speak, until you have real reconciliation, only then does it make sense to go and talk about the past and get some more details and specifics of the affair, if either you or her find it necessary and healing to talk about it. But up until that point, before the point you have real reconciliation, talking about the past can very easily trigger her right back into the past and trigger her to the point that she blames you, or that she feels guilty and she feels you don't trust her. There's 3 different ways she can easily get triggered into the past and then pull her heart away from you. It could either be her guilt, it could be the fact that she feels you don't trust her, the fact that she blames you for the fear starting to begin with, or it could be a combination of those, or variation. And therefore, it's important to respect those principles of not snooping and not confronting. So what is the solution to reverse an affair? It's really from the bottom up. It's understanding what are the things that went on behind the scenes in the past that pulled her heart away from you. What were all those warning signs that you may have missed, that she was upset and you didn't pick up on it until it blew up in your face? But all those micro little things that bothered her. What are the things that are going on right now that are blocking her from feeling your unconditional love? Why is she stuck with the wrong picture of you right now? Why doesn't she trust you right now to open up to you? Why does she feel safer opening up to a stranger? And this is not necessarily pain-free. I've watched my clients go through this, and it does take some mental stamina to be willing to go through this. But that's the goal, to really heal it, because you got to understand there have been many years where your wife believed that she already put her heart into the marriage and that you were missing. You're out to lunch. You're missing in action. And whether that's true or not, I'm talking about from her perception. I'm not talking about a label, a judgment of you and your character, God forbid. I'm talking about the way she sees it. And you have to be able to respect the way she sees it, because that's what's keeping her stuck, assuming you want your marriage to survive. So for guys who want to explore what it means to have a full strategy from the bottom up, to go to the fundamental issues and uncover them and unlock them and see what are the things that have disconnected you and her in the past, and what are the things that are disconnecting you and her right now. If you want that help from me, you want to explore that help, just type help. Simple. Just type the word help, and someone will reach out to you and we'll have a conversation and see if what we have can help you. But it starts really with the first step of facing what's going on, understanding what an affair is, not ignoring intuition, not snooping, not confronting, and making a decision that you're willing to go deep. And some guys aren't, quite frankly. Some guys really just want to eat the fruit without fixing the tree. And the reality is, in a marriage, an affair is some really bad fruit, but it's coming from a tree. And if you just try to fix the fruit and you try to reverse the affair, stop the affair, get her to agree to stop the affair without seeing the tree, what was the tree that produced this fruit, then you're going to have other problems. Even if the affair technically stops, I guarantee you're going to have other communication issues and other misunderstandings. Therefore, it's so important to go deep. And therefore, the standard that I insist on when I'm working with guys is that you got to be willing. I can show you how to go deep. That's my skill set, and I'm happy to share that. But you have to be willing to have the honesty and the willingness, the mental stamina and fortitude to want to go deep. And if that's you and you want to get the help and explore what might be going on in your marriage and what you can do about it and how to recapture your heart, like I said, just type help. Simple as that. All right, guys? I hope you found this training helpful. It's always a pleasure and a joy to spend time with you guys and hang out over here. Let me know what your big takeaways are from today's training.